Welcome to the Broadside Podcast.
With host, my dad, Andy Elliott.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Broadside Podcast. I'm Andy Elliott, your host, and I just want to take a moment and thank each and every one of you for your incredible support, your listens, shares, and feedback. It all means the world to me and keeps this show going strong. And if you enjoy what you're seeing or you're hearing, please take a second, like, follow, share, comment. I think ratings would probably help out on any platform you're listening on. It helps us kind of reach some more people and help bring, some new and exciting content and guests. Also, don't forget to check out my website, Elliottoutdoors.com, for all your hunting, guns, ammo, game bags, meat processing stuff, all sorts of great stuff over there. Constantly getting new products. It's kind of a one-stop shop with a bunch of things and an ever-evolving website. Your support here helps continue to grow this podcast and makes me want to continue. So any feedback I get, I really appreciate it. But with that being said, once again, thanks. I really like doing this, and I hope to evolve this into more and more great stuff for everybody to listen to. So please head on over to the website, check it out, sign up for this, and subscribe to the newsletter. There's always some emails coming out with some discount codes of free shipping and stuff like that. So I appreciate all of you, and hope you enjoy this. So we'll get going, and we'll just start with some introductions. And if you want to start here, Clarence, and tell us a little bit about who you are.
All right. My name is Clarence Rushing. I'm been on the board, the BHA board, for 5-6 years now, and was running a 3D archery shoot fundraiser for BHA for a couple years before that. It initially started as wanted to do a pint night, and got one of my other buddies involved, and he was like, "Oh, let's do a 3D shoot." And so local club has been great. Kitsap Bow Hunters, if anyone's out in that Kitsap Peninsula area, check out KBH. They've been great and let us host there for the last, 7 years now we've done that. This will be the first year we haven't done it outside of COVID in 7-8 years. And then got brought on the board a few years back and on the West Side policy lead, and then recently moved over into the policy side. Yeah, I was on the event coordinator.
Gotcha.
And then got over into the policy side. I'm trying to get a little bit more engaged with what's going on and a little bit more active in some of the conversations around conservation and wildlife management in the outdoor space.
Right on. All right. Thanks.
My name is Mandy Karlstrom. I've been on the BHA board for just over a year now. Hold the communications lead position, which is a bunch of different things, and got involved with it just on the side at first, just trying to help wherever I could with a mediocre ability to edit photos and take photos and try and do some graphics and whatnot and try and help. And the communications lead opened up, so was able to hop in and help out, and it's been great. One of the big things that I learned just in being friends with Clarence and seeing what he was doing on the outside is that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that not a lot of people knew about. And so if I was able to hop in and help share that, then it would be something that I wanted to do. So here I am, and it's been absolutely fantastic to help with everything. So
Sweet.
Right on. Yeah, my name's John Dykes. Been with the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Board in Washington for about 2 years, and was an active member for many, many, many years. I always liked the conservation projects and just getting together with like-minded people, and became buddies with somebody on the board. And that was around the time the spring bear issues started coming up in our state in Washington. So decided to kind of ramp it up and join the board and make more events happen and kind of get more involved from there.
Right on. Well, I want to say thanks for inviting me up here and sitting down and chatting with me. I don't even know. It's probably been 2 years that I've just been a member of BHA, and it might even have lapsed. I have no idea. I try to joined as many things as I can to help.
Yeah.
What, if it looks like this is, I'm like, I can get behind this. Let's throw some money at it.
Yeah.
I think what you guys do is pretty awesome. I like watching all the stuff in the posts and the engagement you guys bring, and so what kind of inspired, the drive to like further your role in BHA, like, instead of just kind of being a member or just kind of sitting back, like receiving the magazines, what made you want to, venture off even more? I'll start with you, Clarence, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, I mean, first it just started, like I said, wanting to do a pint night.
Yeah.
And then that grew into the archery event. And then that kind of rolled over into, one of the board members reached out and asked if I'd be interested in joining the board. And kind of thought about it for a while and ended up deciding to just take the plunge and see. It's like, well, it's volunteer stuff. You can always, peel off if you need to. And,
Yeah.
And then it's just gotten kind of deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And it's, I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Sweet.
Oh, I feel like that's a loaded question.
Yeah, kind of.
Gosh, I mean, so I started hunting about 5 years ago. And so getting into this world, like, I've been able to grow a ton as a person. Like, I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of phenomenal people, like all of that, right? And then once again, seeing BHA through at least like through a lens, through Clarence, and seeing what everybody was doing, and then seeing that, it's an organization that I believe can make a difference in terms of educating, in terms of perpetuating our heritage, like all of that. And so that's super motivating to put all the effort into is, how can we keep doing what we're doing? How can we help educate people? All of that. And like, that's what helped me get involved with it. So if I can flip that back and help bring that forward to other folks, and it's a huge opportunity in terms of sharing that with everybody. And so I think like on the personal side, like I would like to have other folks experience what I did coming into it. And so I think that is what is like melded into all of that.
Yeah. Great answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would say I was always in the backcountry hunting and angling. Been doing it for a long time, and then I was just kind of quietly doing my own thing. And then a shooting area that I always shot at, that I actually met other BHA members at, got shut down. And law enforcement came out there, and there was just a change of hands of land, and public access was taken away from this one spot because of shooting. And then the whole DNR land that I would access behind this private property, all of a sudden I got a trespassing warning one time that you can't go back there anymore. And so literally got landlocked out of 30,000+ acres that I loved to hunt at. And then that was about the same time that the spring bear stuff was happening. And so I kind of just realized that if I don't get off the sidelines and get involved, that like this thing that I love is not always going to be the way it always was when I was, 18 and 20. And then I was kind of going into my 30s, and I realized, I had to get involved and not just do it, but make sure that it's around for, like, I also had a daughter and the next generation, and just kind of realizing that I had to get more involved.
Yeah. That's it takes a different kind of person to see that and take their time to do more. I'm not trying to put myself on a soapbox or anything, but like guys like you who spend a lot of your free time involved, and you don't have to, like it's not something that you have to do, and it's appreciated to see people that do that, and the efforts. And so I got a list of questions. We can hit on a bunch of them. Talked a little bit about them before we recorded. I kind of want to just chat a little bit more about kind of like maybe some of your guys' personal experiences hunting, maybe some goals you guys have as individuals, and then we can kind of move further into like kind of what BHA is and stuff like that. So I'm going to flip the script and start with you this time. What do you got going on coming up?
Right on. No, I mean, I love hunting. I mean, I hunt everything. If the season's open, I'm trying to go for it pretty much. But so, I mean, definitely goals that I have coming up, I would say. I'm not from Washington originally, so I moved here 2012 area time frame. So one of my goals is I would love to get one of every deer species in Washington, because it's super cool that we have whitetail, mule deer, and blacktail. So I would like a nice mule deer, and it's eluded me many a time, and still have dreams of the big one that got away, so to speak. And so that is highly on my to-do list, would be, I guess the Washington deer slam, I guess, if
Yeah,
you want to
yeah.
call it something like that. But yeah, to encounter all 3 deer species in Washington and get a nice buck of each. So my eyes are set on a muley.
Nice. Okay. Mandy?
Bears and bulls. I think, getting into like the first backcountry experience hunting and whatnot was with elk, and like that absolutely hooked me. So 5 years later, I still have not gotten to the point of, drawing back on an elk. And that's just, but like with that said, like every single year, I look forward to that season, like going out and chasing elk with a bow. So that is like top of the list for sure. The past couple of years, I've been really lucky in terms of calling in bears, just not necessarily having a shot or taking a shot. So like this last year, I had a real little bear come in. So it was cool to get like that experience and pass, but it definitely fueled the fire a bit to go back out and target specifically. After seeing enough of those pictures of bear fat and rendering that down and all of that, it's just like, oh, I want that so bad. But elk is top of my list for sure.
And you, correct me if I'm wrong, you pretty much just bow hunt, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I recorded an episode last night and kind of expressed this too, but like I bought a muzzleloader now.
Yeah.
I got an elk last year with my bow. I'm still
Nice.
gonna rifle
Congrats.
hunt, but like there's something different about the more primitive weapon aspect of hunting stuff. So it's cool. I look forward to learning muzzleloader. I don't know if any of you guys hunt muzzleloader at all.
Have a little bit.
Yeah. So what about you, Clarence? What do you got coming up?
Got a couple out-of-state hunts this year. Hopefully waiting on results for Oregon, but looks pretty good. Odds look pretty good for drawing Oregon. And then I was lucky and drew Montana, big game combo, deer and elk.
Oh, nice.
I've hunted there a couple times before in this spot, and have gotten success, or have been successful. Also going to hunt the muzzleloader season in Washington for elk, but taking the bow.
Oh yeah.
On the west
There you
side,
go.
so I haven't done that in a long time. I might have to break out the waders and go elk hunting. But that's my driver, is definitely elk with the bow, is getting those encounters, and then bears. Also kind of like Mandy in this last couple years, getting excited about bears. I missed a beautiful bear last year with my rifle. Like I've just started dabbling into the rifle stuff. I just always been archery, and had an easy shot. Just made a stupid mistake. Just missed him.
Happens.
But yeah.
Happens to the best of us.
Yep.
I mean, if you're lying if you've never done it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
True.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sweet. So,
Wait, time out. We got to ask you, Andy.
Yeah, what
do
about
you
you?
coming up?
well, I'm muzzleloader hunting for the first time this year. I'm excited about that. I didn't even really deer hunt in Washington last year.
Yeah.
I did, but I took a 5 and I guess it would have been 4 and 2 at the time, and just kind of poked around the woods. I like to get my kids involved as much as possible in Washington.
That's awesome.
I've got an Idaho tag for deer. I was spring bear hunting in Idaho, but I haven't really had too many opportunities to go out there. But other than that, I kind of reeled back this year. I didn't put in for a bunch of other states. I'm just focusing on Idaho for deer, and then trying to get a west side elk with my bow again.
Nice.
And then, I want to try out this muzzleloader stuff. Yeah, pretty excited about that.
And
Keep
Washington
it
draw
out or dry.
results are not out yet, so we could draw something big. Who knows?
Yeah,
you might
yeah.
get one after moose or a goat tag. You never know.
Put in for
All of the
that.
fingers crossed.
Yep. Fingers and toes.
Yeah, hopefully I get one of those before I'm too old to hike.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. If that's kind of what it's all about, right? Like all the effort is to maintain these opportunities, and a lot of stuff you guys are doing for public land access. It was funny when I pulled in here to set up, the first guy that saw me, I don't even remember his name, but he's like, "You a public land hunter?" I was like, "Depends who's asking." But I'd hunt the moon if there was deer there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
But moving on to kind of more of chatting about the organization, and for those who might not know what BHA is that's listening, you guys want to kind of give a breakdown of who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So
Yeah, anybody
it's
jump in. Yeah.
it's a national organization. There's chapters in even up in Canada, whatnot. I think we've got 48 out of 50 states. Just in Hawaii and one other, but yeah, the kind of national original focus was keeping public land and water open to public access. So at the time of its creation, there was a lot of push towards transferring ownership of federal lands to state ownership, and then eventually to private. So, and that's kind of what I guess fueled the fire for BHA initially, and they were been heavily involved in that fight for a long time. Hence the whole public landowner slogan. But all the states kind of focus on like different issues within their states. So they'll take on different conservation issues, try to do habitat projects, partner with the Fish and Game office of that state. And then we've been really focused, especially since the spring bear issue, we've been focusing a lot more on like the commission and getting involved with those conversations and more legislative action. But while still doing the different events, like Rendezvous is the first year for Rendezvous, but we've done a whole lot of other events in the last couple years. Still trying to keep the drumbeat going with conservation projects. Last year, our goal was doing a conservation project in every region, which we met that goal.
Nice.
And this year we're trying to double down and do 2 in every region. So we've had some help from AFI, the Armed Forces Initiative of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers have stepped up, and those are great people, the awesome group of guys, and have been a huge help in a lot of this stuff. So we're getting to partner with them and be even more effective.
Right on.
You guys want to?
I would say, as a longtime member, I mean, I joined back in college, and the thing I found about backcountry hunters and anglers was that, like, there's a lot of different clubs out there, and I think you said it, Andy. Join lots of them.
Yeah.
Like, don't just choose one. It's $30 to join a club. Like, it's not that much money. It's like, your groceries cost more each week. So, join lots of them. But I always liked backcountry hunters and anglers because of what the name implied. Like, they cover a wide swath. It's not just, focused on elk. It's not just focused on mule deer habitat. But it was a group of people that did a lot of stuff in the backcountry. And that's kind of what caused me to gravitate towards it. So, like, one weekend you were doing maybe a fish conservation project, or doing a river cleanup, and then the next weekend you're doing a fence removal project on, deer habitat, and just kind of covered a wide variety. And it was a really young and engaged group that was just kind of hungry and really active. And so that's kind of what drew me to the group and how I would describe backcountry hunters and anglers. Yeah.
I guess I didn't even really think that part, but yeah, it's definitely more like encompassing of a larger variety of people than maybe the Sheep Foundation, right? Like, which is, we need all we can get, bringing all of us together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Not fighting over what we're using, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one's a loaded one. What are some of the biggest challenges currently facing public lands, waters, and wildlife in Washington State?
I would say it's people like myself, honestly, like a few years ago, and I see it now too, is like, you're at your local shooting area, and all of a sudden, an officer comes in and says, hey, you can't shoot here anymore. A lot of people just like, well, that sucks, go home, and that's it. Well, your opportunities on public lands and water aren't getting any better. And so I think the big problem facing it is that we live in a state where the population's high. There's a lot of people in Washington. The amount of public land is so little, so that if you don't actively speak up for what you care about, mountain biking, fly fishing, hunting, bird watching, whatever your thing is, honestly, I think that's the risk, is that if you don't get vocal about your activity, there's so many other competing activities on this landscape in Washington that if you're not actively fighting for what you care about, then it's not going to be better in the next generation. It's not going to get better in your lifetime. The next time you go to your shooting range or go hunting in your spot, it's not going to grow and get better. It's just going to shrink and get worse. And so honestly, I think people just saying, oh, well, it is what it is. Well, it's how it goes. And then just moving on. I think that's a threat to public lands and waters versus people saying, hey, how do I get engaged? How do I leave it better than I found it, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that engagement piece is just across the board. Like, with all of the issues, public land access, with conservation, with all of it, is just folks not getting involved, whether that's thinking that somebody else is going to do it or not thinking that they can make a difference in doing it. But, I mean, you go through and you listen to a couple public forum meetings, it's I hope would change a lot of people's minds in terms of getting involved and sharing your voice, because it does make a difference. Like, I remember a couple of years back listening in on one of the commission meetings for the first time, and like I left that thinking, it's like, I'm never going to miss another one of these, because like I want my voice in this, because this is something that I will fight for.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's something worth putting the energy into. And so if you don't, you know, it's power in numbers, and one person makes a difference, and you multiply that by even everybody here that comes to Rendezvous. If we can encourage them to get involved, like just people here leaving and getting involved would make a difference. And that's not just hunting and fishing, it's everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. My wrestling coach in high school had a saying he would like to say is, you take care of the little things and the big things take care of themselves. And
Yeah, it's a great quote.
yeah, and I think a lot of people can get overwhelmed with, you know, you look at these issues and you look at the groups who are involved in some of these issues, who are like kind of fighting against us, and it's just like, you know, they're not going to listen to me. Like, what can I really do? And it can be overwhelming to get started. I mean, I felt that way for a long time, not even knowing where to begin. And that's where something like joining some of these organizations is a great outlet or a great avenue to just kind of dip your toes in the water. And a lot of people seem to think that they have to be all the way in. Like, you know, it eats up a whole lot of our time doing all the stuff that we're doing, but like you don't have to give that much into it. It's like that commercial you hear on the radio all the time is, what's your one thing? You know, so we've tried to make a avenue for folks to have, you know, something that they contribute that is meaningful. So like speaking at a commission meeting or contacting your local representatives and legislators, we've built like contact sheets so you can find out who they are, how to contact them, and then we built some speaking templates. So it's kind of, we're not necessarily looking for people to like, here, read what we want you to say, but it's just like that idea to get the ball rolling. Mm-hmm. You know, just like kind of get the ball rolling, and show that it's easy to do. Only takes a couple minutes. You can do that. That can be your one thing, is once a week you get on the phone with one of your representatives and just say, hey, I'm a constituent of yours, and this is important to me. This is a voting issue for me. One of the guys who's been working with us quite a bit has worked in Olympia on both sides of the House, both Republican and Democrat, and he said that if they would get 7 calls on a single issue, that was huge.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like they took notice to it. So it's true. That's something that's encouraging, is that like you can make a difference. Like your voice can make a difference, and it doesn't take that much to do it, but it's just getting people that information and just kind of guiding them how to do it. So I think that'll kind of help a lot.
I would also add to that trash. You know, threatening public lands and waters.
That's
like,
a great point.
Yeah.
Like when a boat launch is trashed, when a campsite is trashed, when your shooting area is trashed, it makes it really easy for land agencies to take that opportunity away, to say, well, no one respects it, boat launch is going away. We're not going to put more improvements to do a new bathroom or make it better for you. Instead, that opportunity is going away. So I think even as simple as just picking up your trash, and I know that's so easy to say, but it's like that really is threatening it's threatened my activities in public lands and waters. So I think that's another one too.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can kind of, you see that all the time where areas are getting closed down for misuse and stuff like that.
Right.
And I mean, besides that, like that vital piece of it, right, for that land access and all of that, but then you also turn to the other side of that, which is the perception
optics.
of it.
Right.
And the optics. Yeah, it's like, who are the people that are normally out there? Like, what is the perception? Are we the ones out there doing the littering? No, but like the general population probably lumps hunters and anglers in with a lot of other outdoor recreational users.
Yeah.
And so in like
Damn
the current
side-by-side
times,
drivers.
yeah, it's like, yeah. So it's like anything that you can do to make a difference and help that perception. Like, we are all billboards. So like, what are you showing?
That's another great point for like that engagement piece too, is having those different organizations. It makes it easier to organize the trash cleanup.
Yeah.
You know, if you're at an area that you like to go to and you see that it's starting to get trashed, or you see a bunch of garbage, it's like, hey, this is more than I can just grab and pull out, or bring a trash bag. Like when we go shooting, we take a trash bag and try to pick up everything we leave and as much as we can in the trash bag. But some of those areas are get pretty bad.
Ridiculous, yeah.
So having that group that you can reach out to and like, hey, this area is getting pretty bad, let's organize a cleanup. And then a lot of times those organizations have contacts with like DNR and BLM and all these groups they can like fund having somebody come out with a trailer and different stuff. Or like Trash No Land is a great organization. So, and it doesn't take a lot. It takes a Saturday and a half dozen people who want to make a difference.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to do, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, pack out what you pack in.
Yeah, well, pack it out even if you didn't pack it.
Yeah, I don't know. I leave often with stuff I didn't bring in. It's generally balloons, those damn Mylar balloons.
Yeah. In the middle of nowhere, it's like, man, nobody has ever been here before, and there's the balloon.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Well, shoot, it's like, you can't hate them though. It's like, I mean, that's where I'd want to go to die. So
It's funny that I feel like every time I go out, it's funny because I always send pictures back to my wife, and she's like, "Are you kidding me?" Like it's like, I know I'm way better at hunting those than I am deer. So. So engagement, trash. I would say if I threw one in, I would probably have to say knowledge.
Yeah.
It's definitely always bad in optics, right? Like it's bad optics for people who don't know the rules and don't abide by the rules, and then make us all look bad for poaching or stuff like that. I think the education side of things and people getting involved like you guys do, like you've got going on this weekend with all these seminars and education for people. You guys want to kind of break down, and you got a list of what you guys got going on here for seminars? I saw it's pretty awesome. I was
we got a list.
That's why we put on the Rendezvous, was kind of bring people together and all different kinds of knowledge. So people that have done this for years, people that have never done this. That was kind of the thought. So that we have a ton of seminars that kind of cover a wide variety. Trying to get education out there. I know Mandy has a good list.
Yeah. No, and I mean, so in terms of another point too for what brings folks into BHA, I think education is a huge piece of it. But this weekend we've got fly fishing creeks, backcountry emergency medicine, blacktail hunting, a whodunit kill site analysis, and that'll actually be a pretty cool like hands-on thing from home range wildlife research. We've got the Women in the Outdoors panel. We've got bird dog training, wild game butchering, and meat care with a deer that's over in the cooler. It's now thawed out appropriately for tomorrow. We've got the BHA board roundtable, chronic wasting disease, and then effective engagement with the WDFW Commission. So it's got like a really good spread across everything. Covering it all, really.
Yeah, I think, and you guys probably know better than I do, but I feel like a failure to launch for a lot of people in hunting would be, the wild game prep or processing a deer, or like probably overwhelming for someone that's never done it to try to go out there and do it by themselves for the first time.
Just talking with Tom earlier, who's actually doing the butchering seminar, and it's like when I was first starting, it's like, okay, great, go out and practice a ton, feel good about the shot. It's like, if you go out there, it's like, I am terrified if I happen to get lucky enough to get something down. It's like, now what do I do? Like the last thing I want is to get in that situation and not know. And so that was a huge barrier for entry, 100%.
Yeah, that's the whole, people hear all sorts of stories of people who will go out and they'll get something and walk up to it, and now what?
That's when work starts right there.
I had a buddy a few years ago was wanting to get into hunting and asked about rifle selection and caliber, and, gave him some ideas, and he went out and bought a rifle, and it was August 1st, and he wanted to go bear hunting. And everyone's like, good luck, dude. Like, have fun. Well, he went out that morning, opening morning, sat on a stump. About 10 minutes later, a bear comes over the hill. He was like, cool. So he shot it, gets up to it, and he's like, now what? And it's like 6:30 on a Saturday on August, and like nobody's even awake yet. So finally he got a hold of somebody. He's like, dude, I shot a bear. And then, of course, they didn't believe him. And
But that's not the time of year to be messing around either. That stuff can go bad in a hurry in August.
So it's, a lot of people have that, like, now what?
Yeah, that's cool that you have that opportunity for people to come kind of figure that out, because there's really other than doing it, like what do you watch YouTube videos? But it's still not the same, because and while it's cool, you're never doing it on a table. right? You're in some jacked up brush on some stupid
It's not
hillside.
convenient.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then keep it all clean and make sure, because obviously we don't want to waste any of it.
Right.
But yeah, the education and like the seminars you guys got going on, it's I'm excited. I'm hoping to get my kids and stuff up here tomorrow to kind of come check it out and stuff too.
Yeah,
And we're
that'd
also
be
hoping
awesome.
to cover some stuff that, like, I know a lot of hunters are talking about processing their own meat even. So like kind of that after stage, okay, so you got it broken down, you got all your hindquarters, shoulders, everything. But how do you grind your own meat?
Yeah.
Or how do you cut your own steaks or make your own stew packages? So I think we're going to cover some of that stuff too.
Cool.
So yeah, wide variety. Like you said, you got to get knowledge. So even if you're just getting started or you've been doing it for a long time, there's always something that you can learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a student forever. Like I'm down to learn like this stuff. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So education and outreach. Other than that, you guys have the Rendezvous here. What's some of like a few past success stories or kind of like some stuff highlighted you guys want to talk about that you guys is maybe either the whole organization or just your chapter alone kind of put yourself on a soapbox for a minute and talk about kind of some success you guys have had.
I feel like, John, you should talk about the
goat
boots.
counts.
Yeah, goat
Oh,
counts,
yeah.
the
First
boots
and
on the
foremost,
ground
let's
success.
let's brag a little bit. Chapter
Well,
of the year.
Yeah.
We're going to get on the soapbox here. Thanks for
Yeah.
setting that up for us, Andy. Definitely chapter of the year. That was a big one for us. Like
Yes.
we were at our board retreat last year.
Yeah.
We're like, could we do chapter of the year? And it seemed like, oh man, that's a big goal out there. And then, so we'll say major success last year was chapter of the year. So like Clarence said, quite a few chapters out there all the way into Canada. So we were super honored about that, and just really cool to see the hard work that everyone on the board was putting in. We were super amped about it, but to see that the whole national scale recognized was really awesome.
Yeah.
And we got an awesome award at the National Rendezvous and the George Berg Grinnell Award. So that was a major success from the board. And I would say, the conservation projects last year, that was one that I love doing events and I love a good pint night, but I love also getting my hands on and like I said, leaving it better than we found it. So last year we did Boots on the Ground project, which was from our conservation lead. And it was all about getting on the ground and actually doing conservation projects in all the regions of Washington, which we did. And so that was super cool, and partnered with WDFW and Trash No Land and tons of different cool organizations. So that was a big success. Maybe also the CWD program that we did with them, if you want to talk on that.
Yeah, it was great. We were able to partner with WDFW to help boost that incentive program for the CWD testing and whatnot. I know, Clarence, you hit up one of those stations.
Yeah, I got lucky in about the first 10 minutes of opening light on a whitetail this year, and took it to the had it checked for one of the biologists came out and met at a station, and they took the samples and whatnot, and it's easy.
Right
It's a
on.
quick, easy process, and then you get entered into a drawing for a multi-season. Was it deer or elk tag?
Multi-season deer tag.
Deer tag. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a special draw for people that participated in that.
Oh, nice.
So-
Yeah, I like those like incentive deals like that. I think that's a good way to go about some of that citizen science stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like even maybe I'm wrong, but don't they have an incentive deal if you like report early? You get something as well.
Yeah, you get put into a drawing for different special tags.
Yeah.
For options.
Yeah.
Or even isn't that true for the report a poacher as well? Report a poacher?
Yeah.
Isn't that
And
true?
I think so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they've got one for West Side, the hoof disease over in elk too. Like there's
Right.
a ton of
Those are
ton
cool.
of opportunities that you can get involved with just by submitting
Yeah.
Yeah.
those samples.
Opportunities to
Yeah.
increase your opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my shirt I haven't made yet. Is the snitches get quality elk hunts?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
I
great.
don't know how that one would go over, but
Oh my gosh. That's hysterical.
got to get those points somehow, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say those are some of the successes from last year. Big time last year, and then chapter of the year was the kind of icing on the cake for it.
I think the chapter of the year part was great because it felt good for the recognition that we did hit on everything, right? The conservation, the education, the policy engagement. Like we were running with that the entire year. And so I think that was definitely the cherry on top.
Right. I was to say what Mandy said, also the communication, having Mandy on board, as a longtime member, it's been super cool to just communicate more with members and talk more with them and let them know what we're doing and let them just be more engaged. And so that's been super cool as well. That was a major success. That was a big reason I joined the board as well, just trying to be more open and communicative with our members. And so that was also a major success.
Yeah, I don't want to skip over the goat count thing either, though. So
the future.
We talked a
success
little
got
bit.
coming
We
up,
talked
too.
a little bit about before we were recording. Earlier we talked about the last year's count, right? Like how it all got set up. I don't know if you want to kind of run down that again on a hot mic.
Yeah, sure. No, I can. Yeah. I was engaged in the Fish and Wildlife Commissions. After the spring bear issue, I just kind of left it on the background. I'm listening to the mountain goat stuff. And in general, the mountain goats in Washington State are not doing great. And so the biologist was giving reports of just how kind of the numbers have not been positive and then how little numbers that they had. And so heard about other citizen science goat counts around the West, but they weren't happening in our state in Washington. So I just kind of investigated and figured out why. It took some time to figure out why and put them all together. But last year, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers partnered with the Rocky Mountain Goat Alliance and Department of Fish and Wildlife to bring back citizen science goat counts in Washington State. So we did those around the Chelan area. Again, our goats need a lot of help. So we're bringing it back and trying to do more this year, and then also working with the Tulalip tribes. Their biologists there are super interested, and just trying to provide more information to our biologists about what's happening with the goats. But as we said, also so many organizations are getting less staff, less funding, those sort of situations. So to have people volunteer their time to provide this data to our biologists instead of having to pay biologists to go gather the data has been encouraging. So we're keeping up with it.
Yeah.
And I think something important to hit on with that too is a citizen science, how important that is to the department, because they do have professionals out there who are doing a fantastic job of gathering information, doing different studies, but there's only so many and they can only cover so much ground. And there's thousands and thousands of hunters and anglers and stuff out there. So if you can help contribute to the department and help expand that level of knowledge, it gives them a better idea of what to go off of.
That's a good point. And they have those reporting tools online.
Right.
Like they have the goat. If you're even out hiking and see a mountain goat, they do have a reporting tool that they use that is underused. Same thing with wolf sightings and some of those other ones. So you're right, they are limited in staff. So if you do see something out there, you don't always have to be on a citizen science goat count as well. But reach out to Fish and Wildlife and submit it and tell them what you see. Or if you get phone scope pictures of goats on a certain ridge, and they're trying to get that information. And so, they are limited in numbers, and so it does help.
Yeah. There has been, we've always heard the concern of people saying don't report stuff because then they'll shut down stuff early. It's not accurate. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Quite
Because,
the opposite.
Yeah. The more they know, the more information they have, the better idea of how many animals there are actually out there, be that, fish or ungulate or predator or whatever. And then they can open more opportunities. If they don't know, they have to be as conservative as possible and go off their lowest estimated numbers.
Right.
So the more information you give them, the more opportunities that's going to lead to for the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you kind of hit on what I was going to say. It's I'll get on my soapbox for a second, but there's always, to wrap back around earlier to what we talked about, is the stigma online with the reporting, or we were talking earlier about engagement, is you see too much of that in forums and Facebook groups of what we're doing is a waste of time. They're not going to listen anyway. And like you said, it's actually the opposite. They want to hear. I've always gotten positive feedback for the most part when I reach out to even a commissioner or to give them my peace of mind or email my thoughts on certain issues. And they're asking us for the biologists that I've chatted with want those numbers, the reporting, so that they can help us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole point.
Yeah. And most people in the department are there because they're just like us and they want their, their life centered around the outdoors, the outdoor space. And so it's that's why they made their career what it is. So.
Yeah, and anything less is it's just a bad look, the underreporting of the bear tooth things we were kind of talking about earlier, or stuff like that, that can be held against us.
Right.
So why not even just try to help? But yeah. I got something else on here, and I it's not really kind of a hot time for legislative stuff or policy making, but if there's some things you guys want to hit on that, and maybe a little bit about what's going on with some commission turnover stuff coming up, I'd like to hear about that too.
I think I'm just going to keep hammering on the engagement piece of it.
Yeah.
Like we know that there's going to be changes coming down the pipeline. And so in terms of having a good perception, being involved, being the sane sane voice in a room filled with chaos is going to get us really, really far in terms of having those meaningful conversations that will drive the results that we want to see. So I think like my piece on that would just be to like, if you're not involved, figure out, to Clarence's point earlier, how you can get involved in a sustainable way and how we can continue being in the room with a voice that people want to listen to. I think, and that's not just this upcoming session, but just in general for that.
Yeah, hitting on we are, everybody is a billboard for, what we do. So, when your actions don't just represent you as an individual, they represent us as a group. So, and I mean, now more than ever, we're kind of under a microscope, which in a lot of ways is good because we have a lot of a lot of positives going for us. Like we're involved in a lot of really good things. Like we're hunting and angling, like contributes huge into conservation. So the more optics we get on that, the better. But at the same time, people have to remember that they are representing hunters and anglers with everything they do, and like behave in a manner that you're proud of, and that others will be proud of, and then it's only going to be good things.
Yeah. That's the whole hot button topic a lot of people talk about too. Is social media and the posts and stuff like that, and what you put out there, the image we're putting out for people. Let's try to help.
It's so easy. It's so easy for people to pull like a snippet out of something
take something out of context.
Right. And so any chance that we have to actually explain, to tell a story, to tell the meaning behind it, like it's only going to do good things.
Yeah.
So like if you have something, just do a little gut check on it,
It's a hard kind of balance because then there's like people get kind of up in arms about the censorship and self-policing, but it's like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. It's like, no, you're not. But something to be aware of is, perception is reality.
Yeah.
So what does that look like from the outside? But there's the argument like, well, it's not meant for them. I'm sharing this for people who appreciate it, because anybody in this room, we could show just a picture of a grip and grin with a deer or an elk or something, and you kind of know the story behind that, or you can imagine the story behind that. That's why those big bucks and big bulls are so captivating, is because it's like you can imagine everything you have to go through to get to that situation and be that person, and all like the years that it goes into that snapshot. But for people looking inward, they have no idea. All they see is someone standing there with this magnificent animal that's dead, and they're happy about it. And it's like, I mean, it's not saying don't share it, but also like don't just share that. Do a better job of telling the whole story of the adventure, not just the result of all the hard work, but show that hard work.
I'm definitely no fan of censorship. By any means. I mean, I self-censor all the time. On a lot of these episodes, there's probably times I say some stuff and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But it's also, like you said, a picture we're putting out there for a general population of people who don't understand what we're doing. That might be on our side if we just went about it a little different.
The social media side of things is great because you can get your message out to a broad audience, and it's also terrifying because messages can get out to a broad audience. So it's use the powers of social media and just like the technology that we live in today for good. And I saw the outdoor channel before I started hunting, and it was the same thing of just seeing a bunch of people next to big bucks, and they didn't tell the whole story there. And it's like, okay, great, they shot it and they're happy, and now they're going to go do it again. And the people that were watching that, just like you said, Clarence, like everybody knows that does it, what is in between. But that was a huge barrier for me of like understanding what that actually was and not seeing the full story. So I think it's definitely, not a responsibility that anybody should have, but that we do have to share that story now.
And communicating too. There's probably people that have no idea that they work with someone who hunts, right? And like I think there's a stigma to it from the 80% of people that don't hunt but aren't against hunting, right? And communicating with those people you're around, sharing those stories, sharing that food, stuff like that. It's probably a good way to outreach to that too.
And
That's
I think
a big one for me, yeah. I don't share as much on social media, but I love having those conversations like you're saying. I talk to like the grocery store clerks. They know me now as the guy that hunts black bears, and we have a lot of black bear conversations. They have no hunting interest whatsoever. And I come from a ton of different areas with a wide variety of backgrounds. So I always love to have, and sometimes they are hard conversations of like with coworkers or certain things. They're like, well, wait, why would you kill a bear? And I love spending my whole lunch break eating bear chili, talking about why you would do that, historically, and those deep dive conversations with people. And if it's just one person, it's not on social media, it's not to everybody, but it's just one lady that works in my office, maybe that day. All of a sudden now, after many years of doing that, she's way into black bear hunting, totally supportive of it. When I first started, not in support of it.
Yeah.
Now, totally sees it, has eaten it, gets the whole gist. So even small conversations make a difference too.
Yeah, and I mean, and then you've changed that one person's mind. So the 10 people she has that small conversation with, right? Like, she's like, well, no, hold on. You know, I know a little bit more about this than I used
People
to.
do eat it,
great point.
Yeah, that's huge. I don't want to go down a whole social media rabbit hole too far. Is there anything, like, kind of, did we talk about goals, kind of like what you guys got coming up? Events. I know we talked a little earlier, but I don't know if we talked on this, but events that you guys are putting on coming up, cleanups.
Yeah, well, we talked about the goat counts, so I would say, that is an event coming up. The second annual goat count in the Lake Chelan area with Fish and Wildlife is July 19th, 20th, and 21st. Super fun event. Hike into the backcountry, bring your spotting scope, binoculars, pair up with tons of cool people, and just kind of spot goats. And it's a great kind of early season warm up, and then you give all that data back to biologists. So that's coming up in July. Sooner than that, June 23rd, Sunday, June 23rd, we're doing our third annual Salton Basin cleanup off of Highway 2 in the west side there at that shooting area that kind of kicked me off into BHA. We partnered with DNR, and they have a cool thing that any trash we bring out of that shooting area, just have to bring it to the road, and they will bring in trailers and haul it all away. Nice. We bring out over a ton of parts of dishwashers sometimes, all sorts of stuff that we just kind of attack this area and leave it just spotless. And so that's coming up June 23rd, and all these are on our social media, which you can find the links to, or on our website. We have a cool events page where people can RSVP and kind of get the Google coordinates and all the information for the events.
I'll drop show notes. I'll put links to all that stuff.
Awesome.
I'll tag all you guys, your social media accounts. Which reminds me, if somebody wanted to kind of get more involved in BHA and like your guys' cleanups or the goat count or whatever else you got going on, what's the best way for them to kind of reach out? And are we sending them all to Mandy since you're the communications?
This is your job.
The BHA page on Instagram is definitely a great starting point if that's where you normally go. But we've also got the Facebook page that's updated with all the events. We also have a email newsletter that you can sign up for if you're not a social media person. And then just on the BHA website, you can drill down to the chapter. You can look at BHA as a whole, and there's a shocking number of events across the country that you can look at. But we'll have them there for Washington too. So
sweet. I mean, we still got time. I'm here as long as you guys want to chat about stuff. Is there anything else you guys want to make sure we hit on that's coming up, or you got going on, or?
There's a great opportunity for folks who want to get engaged and maybe have conversations with the commission. Coming up on June 20th through 22nd is a hybrid commission meeting, which will be Vancouver, in person in Vancouver, and then you can also join virtually if you want to call in. Another great avenue is sending emails to commissioners or reaching out individually. We recommend going in person if you can. I mean, not everybody lives close enough to where they can do it. Not everybody can take the time off work if it's on a Friday. We get it, people have lives and they're busy. But if you're able to, come down to the meeting. Meet people, have chances to have conversations face-to-face. I've had some really good conversations with commissioners face-to-face that I generally wouldn't agree with on a lot of issues, that I think when you have that opportunity to have that back and forth engagement, you can kind of see that those wheels start to turn a little bit for them. And it's not just a one-way conversation when you're in the public forum. You're not confined to the 2 minutes. You can have that exchange of ideas and thoughts back and forth and different perspectives. And then it gives them an opportunity to see us in person, see where we're coming from, and that it's not just a voice on the phone. It's not just, someone here at a meeting angry at me and then they leave. But it's, I've had some great conversations with commissioners, and it's also a good opportunity to meet folks from Department of Fish and Wildlife. See the people who are behind the scenes, see some of like the section managers, see all the work that they're doing. The endangered species section manager gave an incredible presentation on wolves last year in the wolf counts in Washington, and it's like Washington is running uncontestably the most successful wolf recovery program in the country. And that's not just that they're doing the best job of bringing more wolves in, they're also doing the best job of minimizing or even reducing conflict. They're doing the best job at preventing lethal removals from wolves. They average, I think it's around less than one a year lethal removals for wolves, while the number of packs, number of animals have continued to grow every year. The conflict has stayed really pretty stagnant for the last 10 years. There's been almost no increase in conflict with, the increased population, which is incredible. And that's due to the amount of work that they put in building relationships with people who are out affected by these decisions. So it's a great opportunity to go see that stuff. I mean, I probably would have never known that unless I was there, because by the time you sit through the open public input, like, it's exhausting. Like, it's just mentally and emotionally taxing. But then you're there and it's like, well, I'm here.
Run out of fingernails.
Yeah, run out of hair. Like, I wasn't always bald. Like 6 weeks ago I had hair.
Yeah.
But no, it's like a great opportunity to like have those conversations you wouldn't have.
I mean, it definitely feels a little bit more impactful to go over and like get to shake hands. And to your point about like that presentation for the wolves, like you can apply that to the majority of the presentations that they have there. Listening to the issues going on with the different types of squirrels, and listening and like talking to Kyle about the ducks and everything else. Like everybody in their role is so educated, so passionate, and they do a great job at conveying all that information too. So if not just for talking to commissioners, but just like talk to the people that do have the boots on the ground that are fighting to get the information for all of this.
Yeah. And really understand how much on, I would say our side, but it's conservationist side that they are. Because we were talking about, they're every bit as passionate about this stuff as we are.
Yeah.
And then they get to do it for a career.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that energy, have those conversations with them and really learn some nitty gritty about stuff. And
I even love just meeting the people face to face that had polar opposite ideas. So oftentimes on Zoom meetings, you know the names. We're all in the same meetings.
Yeah.
But it was super cool to see them just face to face and realize in this digital age, like those are real people, and we had conversations with them, or even some of the other people there were for like fish management, that they had tons of questions about hunting. And back to what you're saying about like you are an ambassador, and that like even people that are in the middle ground, and just to see people face to face and just to realize the wide swath of people that are out there in Washington, not always in your backcountry hunters and anglers mindset, and just even to communicate with those people was super interesting, just to see them and communicate on a human civil level of just like, hey, understanding them, obviously a totally different mindset, but that was engaging and kind of interesting to see. And I would just say, kind of like what Clarence says, just find a way to get engaged. Not everyone can go down, but look up the Fish and Wildlife meetings, like, committee meetings, and try your best to be involved, or join a club or an organization, even if you can't like be there or be as active. Even just $30 or your $40 that you give to a membership every year does a difference. So those sort of things do help. So
Yeah, I mean, putting a human face to an opinion, or an email is way better, I think. Like, a message can get lost in a text, right? Like, it could be conveyed the wrong way, but what was it, Olympia last year when we went down there? I went down there, and it was cool to just shake hands with all of them and just put a name
Right.
to a face or a personality to a figure that we see on
Yeah.
Zoom meetings all the time. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And like even when I'm backpacking, a lot of times hunters, like you're hiking on a trail, right? It's early in the morning, you run into another hiker. You normally don't say anything, but I think after going down there and engaging with just the variety, I was way more open to engage with different viewpoints.
Yeah.
Or like people, so I would be hiking out at bear season in August on the weekend on a Sunday. Some lady's going in there and taking photos with her husband and they're just so perplexed by bear hunting. Like, what are you doing hiking with a rifle?
Yeah.
And normally sometimes there's a hunter, you're like, oh yeah, anyways, have a good day, and you're just gonna go about your way. But after going in person to the meetings, I was much more open to say, well, yeah, let me tell you about bear hunting and why I do it and why I'm out here with a rifle or something. I thought deer was only in October. Why are you carrying a rifle in August? Well, black bears and how that works and how many tags you're allowed and what my family does with the meat, and all of a sudden, totally great conversations that just, I think, going to the meeting and just engaging with totally different viewpoints than your own can branch you out.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think hiding from what we do is the right answer. You know, like, not to go off on a different tangent, but like you said, starting those conversations with people that you would kind of just normally turn your head and walk past. I think an insightful engagement is probably the best way to go.
Right.
I think it's easy to like assume going into those conversations you're
You're the
assuming
bad
it's
guy,
not
yeah.
going to go well.
Yep.
But I guess looping that to a different example of going and knocking on doors for access to places. Sometimes you get a absolutely no,
Yeah.
but sometimes you can get into having that good conversation. And to the point earlier, you know, you had that conversation with your one coworker, and then it, you know, got transferred over to 10 other people. You know, I work in an environment that I was terrified to bring up hunting and fishing just because it's not the type of folks that are in there. And I've got a team of 12 people that now ask me, like, when are you gonna go hunt next? And what are the wild game meals that you're doing? And so it's neat to like have those conversations and to try and reduce that assumption that it's going to go south. It's not to say that it won't, but if you go in with good intent and you have, you know, you tell your story behind it, how it impacts you, like odds are it's not going to go bad.
Yeah, and I mean, part of that too is like taking a second and looking at it from the other perspective. At the last commission meeting, there was a guy who had asked during this part if the hunters would explain why you think you should be able to hunt cougars. And I went and talked to him after, and I says, is that sincere or rhetorical? If it's sincere, I'd love to have a conversation with you. And he says, no, genuinely, I'd like to know. And so if you flip that optic, I mean, to all of us in here, we know obviously why we should be able to hunt cougars. We know why we should be able to hunt bears in the springtime when you don't hunt any other big game in the spring. We understand the conservation aspect, the ecology of it. When we get it, we know why. But to someone who grew up watching Disney and that's their experience with wildlife is the zoo, they don't get it. They have no idea. So look at it. Take a second and look at it from that perspective, and then be genuine and engaging. And you can have some great conversations with people when you take a second to look at it from their perspective before you expect them to look at it from yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody always seems to go into those conversations kind of with their hackles up because, like, you're trying to defend what you're doing, right? Like, you don't want to. But
I think that's a good piece of it too. Is like to go into it with a conversation, not to go into it telling somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Great point. So I don't think we even said this, but we're in Ellensburg, Kittitas County.
Yeah, we probably ought to
Come to Rendezvous.
Kittitas County Fairgrounds, where the rodeo is held. It's the Rendezvous. Is this the first Rendezvous you guys have put on? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So Nationals hosts a rendezvous every year, and we've talked about it for a little while, but this is our first Washington rendezvous, and looking to hopefully make it a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't remember how much the tickets to come in were. Kids were free. I remember seeing that.
Kids are free under 12. Admission, I believe, is $15. Banquet tickets are still available for $20. Highly recommend doing that because that's a great night. You'll be around for the storytelling piece of it, some really, really great community aspects. And then
it's catered by Buckshot Hunting, which is amazing.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And camping on site.
Yeah.
So RV and tent camping.
Sweet.
Right.
So.
Did you ever go to those dinner parties like in cities or something like that with like people that don't hunt and fish, and like you have nothing in common, and then all of a sudden you hear somebody mention, like, I went on a fishing trip, and you just like instantly gravitate. Oh, did you say something about fishing? That was kind of the thought, was like backcountry hunters and anglers, we're all very unique individuals. Let's bring all these unique individuals across both sides of the Cascades, east and west, and come and gather in the center part of the state where people have a lot in common of backcountry hunting and angling. And so that was kind of the thought, and a bunch of cool people coming together, hanging out, camping, wild game potluck, seminars, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't have, like, probably goes without saying, but you don't have to be a backcountry hunter and angler to be a part of backcountry hunters and anglers.
Right.
No.
There's berry pickers, mushroom pickers. You know, public land access is still a core of the group, so that's a big fight of ours as well. So if you enjoy public lands and just getting out there, totally for you as well.
Well, the backcountry is where you find it too. I mean, it's like the perception as backcountry is, you know, you're carrying your whole pack on your back and you're deep in the wilderness areas, but it's like, I mean, that could be out of your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's the backcountry is where you find it, and that's what your adventure is. And also, like, you know, we're a hook and bullet organization. Our focus is hunting, fishing, conservation, but it benefits everybody.
Yeah.
Like, do you go outside? This benefits you. Like, really, you know, it sounds kind of sarcastic, but it's like everybody. You know, we want public access for everybody. If you're a bird watcher, or a bicycler, or you know, if you just like hiking, or you know, whatever you want to do, we want to make sure that the backcountry, whatever your backcountry is there and available for you and your kids. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's, you know, the driving focus behind the organization, and it benefits everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so backing up a little bit too for like this event, the board's been working on this, you know, for months and months and putting a lot of time and effort, but it also, you know, wouldn't be possible without having the sponsors that we've got involved, you being one of them.
Shout out to
So
Elliott
thank you.
Outdoors.
Shout out to Elliott. Yeah, thank you, man.
And, you know, some of the other ones we've got, like I mentioned earlier, Home Range Wildlife Research, they're doing a seminar. We've got Women on the Wing, the Walla Walla chapter's coming up here for that, Ducks Unlimited, Walton's, Washington Wildlife Recreation Coalition, Trapline Taxidermy, Red's Fly Fishing, or Red's Fly Shop. They're huge between the trap shoot or the sporting clays today.
Yeah, they've
multiple seminars.
Great time.
They've been amazing help on
Huge.
this. They're right here in Ellensburg, just down on the Yakima River. They run a fly fishing guide outfit service. They also do river rafting, sporting clays, upland bird hunting, guided trips,
I've
all
heard
sorts of
for years.
stuff. Yeah.
I've always heard of Reds for years. Reds on the Canyon, I always heard of it. I'd never been there, and I finally got to check it out today at the clay shoot. It's awesome. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
It's really
on the
cool.
river.
Yeah.
We got a burger there at the restaurant.
Yeah.
I will definitely be back, and I'm bummed that I didn't check it out sooner. It's
Yeah.
a really nice spot.
Yeah.
And amazing people, super giving. We talked to them about this event, and they're like, absolutely. How can we get involved? Their idea to host the sporting clays shoot.
Nice.
And so they helped set that up. They're doing 2 of the seminars tomorrow. They donated a guided chucker hunt for this. They're hugely involved. Joe Roeder is one of the storytellers. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome story. I've kind of told everybody this so far, but a couple years ago, Mandy and her husband, me and my wife, and a couple other friends came over and shot their sporting clays in the morning, and then rented a raft from them, and they do a shuttle service and they'll take you up the river. So you do sporting clays in the morning, jump in the car, they take you up, and then float down the Yakima River, get out at Reds, finish with a burger and a beer, and it's an awesome day.
Yeah.
It's super
It's a
cool.
good day.
Yeah. Can't say enough good things about that group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. More people should sign up for that shuttle service, because I don't know how many times I've seen people hitchhiking on that. Because, you know, living here, I drive it all the time. I'm constantly picking up wet people that forgot their keys in their other car up the river. You know, but yeah. Reds is awesome. I've been there a handful of times. They've also got like a shop, right? Like they're selling crispy boots and all sorts of stuff.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
They'll be out tomorrow. They'll have crispy boots. They'll have Garmin equipment. So they got like the InReach. They've got training collars, all sorts of great stuff.
Yep.
And then we have over, what is it, like $11,000 or $12,000?
Yeah, we've got a ton of donated gear that's going to be for raffle and silent auction and all of that.
And shout out to the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife staff. The commission staff. You can think what you want about the commission, but the staff is full of a bunch of awesome people as well. they donated a roadkill deer that we're going to be able to do our butchering seminar with, and doing some seminars and educating people on biology and stuff like that. So
They're going to have the
major
CWD
help.
trailer out here too.
Yep.
So yeah,
Big help from
huge
them.
part of it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm excited. I can't, I want to say thanks again.
Okay.
Make sure we got everybody. I'm glad you hit that. That was my next thing, was the shout outs.
Yeah.
But shout out to you guys and BHA for putting it on, first of all. And I appreciate you guys chatting with me. And,
Absolutely.
I'm excited to bring the kids up and see you guys again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yes, thanks
Thanks
for
for
coming
having
on.
us.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having us.